What's up? I'm on Shaiya, all that good stuff. This is just a general gameplay. This isn't any motivational poetry. Going to be streaming if I'm not doing that or managing my post and other things such as that. So let's see what quests we can get complete here. And of course, my headset decides to go out, so you'll have to give me a second. There we go. Got that all figured out. Okay, so we need to see what we got going on as far as our quest goes. We gotta go this way, I believe. Yeah. Might as well hand this in while I'm doing that. I figured I'd start doing some just normal streams from time to time as well, so there won't be any intermission video or anything like that. Just playing the character, talking as I do. No specific subject or anything, so. Supposedly this is up here, but I don't see it. Doesn't say where that is. Okay, it's the antelopes. Well then, let's get these antelopes then. Might be something I have to pick up. Yeah, it is. Okay. All right. Be pretty close to getting that. It's only a couple of them I gotta take care of or whatever. But yeah, for the majority of the time you'll see me streaming one way or another. So if you miss me in the previous one, you can be pretty sure soon after that I'll start another one. Gotta get the loot for this. It's kind of hard to switch from game to game too, by the way. each button is different for each thing, so makes it kind of difficult. Guess that's disadvantages of playing multiple games and all that. And the times on these and the game will be something that will vary as well too, just for that information. Let's see, what do we got? We can turn in a couple of these. And all of that. I figured why not do streaming since I play the games, even in between the motivational poetry things I do and all of that. So I figured why not? Not sure, is there any more quest? Nope, there's not another quest for that one. Okay, we might as well go find out about this one over here. Actually, probably wasn't gonna use this. Okay, so it's actually over here where the... I don't know why that was jumping around as far as a question mark or whatever. Okay, we got that taken care of. Now we can move on to this other one we got going on. It's over here somewhere. Of course, amongst these too, if someone brings up a random subject, I don't really mind talking about it as well, by the way. Figured I'd mention that. But I figured I'd just take and do normal old gameplay. I'll be doing that for pretty much all the games that I play at the current time. There might be a few possible new ones that might be going on at some point. Just depends on how that works out. Let's see, I think I'm supposed to, yeah, okay, I'm supposed to get these. There might even be a few character creation things I do on this general one. You'll be able to tell because I'll just put just playing whatever game it is. That way you can somewhat distinguish. I'm not sure if this is like an item I have to pick up or... We'll still be doing my normal motivational poetry thing, but that's not what you're going to see all the time. This is more for the ones that want to see just the general gameplay. Don't really want to pay attention to me rambling. Believe? Yeah, it's this one. I don't know why it's not giving me all of them, though. There we go. Must be one that's slightly named different or something. I don't know. And I can't see what that other says as far as the number. That's one thing. I can't even move it, so I don't even know. That's defense. Okay, but I do need to kill a couple of those. So we'll do that. So many different various things that games require you to do, or sometimes the quest lines in them are pretty actually good. Some of them have some really, really deep stories behind it. That's one thing I've always noticed, at least. One that I recently played, I kind of wish they would take and do it in English too, but Moonlight Blade. The only reason I'm not doing it is because it's in a different language, actually. That's the only reason. If it was done in the language that I speak, well, that would be different. But I'm not sure if I have this one complete or what. 5 and 5. It's probably complete because of the question mark, so I'll try to turn it in or whatever. That and those that might be like me that take and do content, it is much harder than you think it is to just make a video. Well, it's not as easy as it looks. If you're doing something like this is not really that difficult. When the chats are going crazy, though, I imagine it is kind of hard, though. I will say that. But the general video area, That's not hard when you're just doing general stuff. Unless you're doing something educational or, you know, something where you actually have to have the information to be able to do it correctly. That's a different story. But to just make the video going through the game, unless it's a difficult game, the hardest part's actually getting the equipment to be able to do it. You'll have to give me a second. Sorry. Gotta remember. I believe it's that one. There we go. That'll happen from time to time where I'll just randomly decide to do that. But anyway. Okay, well, we completed this quest. Let's see, what else? Okay, we got this one. Okay. You got any other available ones? don't. Okay, so we will do... Okay, we've got to fight the boars is what we got to fight on this one. Anyway, like I was saying, it's as far as making content, it's not really that hard unless you're doing something that's either A, have to be educated, you have to be smooth as you're doing it. Like the poetry thing that I like to do, that is very far from easy to be able to rhyme, know what you said, doing it freestyle, and then having somewhat of a backing for what it is that you're saying. Because just generally talking, that ain't really that hard. But the hardest part is setting everything up as far as your, you know, like your background and everything else. Or your general topic, too. If there's one that's topic related, that's different. Anyway, that aside, some reason somebody pops in or says something, well, that will change the subject more than likely. But at various times, I might end up just randomly ending the stream because I want to do a motivational poetry one. But if I'm not doing that or something else, I will be doing this. But I gotta adjust that because it's driving me nuts. But because I'll be doing this, I won't be able to do the intermission videos that I used to do. But it is what it is. It also gives people a chance to talk about what was just said or whatever during that period of time anyway, so it works. Not sure if I've got this complete yet. I don't know how many I need to have. But I figured I'd start doing that today and just continue to do it as the day goes by. So, like I said before, if you missed me on the previous one, you should probably be seeing one within a little while after that. If I'm available, of course, but if it's not something that needs to be addressed or something, I'll be doing this. But looks like I've completed that one. Let's see what ones might pop up after this. Looks like there's this one. Not sure which way I gotta go for that. Looks like this way. Probably ought to see what skills I need to get. See what about my buffs? They're taken care of. Probably go with that one. Use that one a lot. There we go. I'll mess with my stats a little bit later. Let's see, is this where I need to go? Yeah. Let's see, it looks like we got another spot we gotta go. That's clear over there. It looks like we'll be going that way. I have to pull up my map so I know where I'm at first. I need to get on the road so I'm not so easily attacked or whatever. Well, I gotta get to where the road is first. In fact, some of the motivational poetry things I do, I might even do a couple of them or whatever, why I'm doing this, actually, possibly. Don't know yet on that, but like right in the middle of it. Of course, I'll have to change my background or whatever, but for most games, that's pretty easy. There's a few of them, though, that as soon as you hit a button, it changes, it kicks you out. There's a few of them particularly that like to do that to me for whatever reason. which is kind of annoying, to be honest. Even amongst some of the series that I do for my YouTube channel, some of them you can't even get outside of the game. So you have to use short keys for it. But then when you forget what the short key is, you hit the wrong button, mid-swing, all of a sudden you got to redo it. Or you got to have a decent editor to change it. And it's not always easy either to get it the way that you want it. Even within my little, best way I can put it is, even within my, I believe it's called EVP. I have a lot of that in my content, actually. There's plenty of times that either A, I had to edit it, or B, it's like, you can tell. In case you don't know what that is. Electronic voice phenomenon. I can't pronounce that word correctly, but that's one thing I actually deal with every day. No joke. In most of my videos, there's at least one or two. And the only reason I know that is because I use this as well. I'll put it on my screen. I use this as well when I'm recording. It's recording this. Right now I'm not doing anything that I feel that I need to record. But later on I'll take and review it. And turn up the volume on it. And voices are very distinguishable. That's one of the few things that I have to deal with in the middle of this. That's another reason why I say that sometimes the content is harder than what it looks or what it might seem when you have such things like that happening as well. That makes it far worse. I know that was a little off subject, but of course there is no subject. But to deal with that, I mean, it's something amongst many of my videos you can very clearly hear, or if you were to turn up the volume on it, you could hear it in certain spots. A lot of times I just posted it anyway. It just depends on what it is that's being said. But that's one of my few struggles amongst doing this that makes it hard for me particularly. That's why a lot of times I have the game volume, because you won't be able to hear it then, because it's low enough. If I wasn't to have it, you would hear every single word if you turned it up. And it's quite a few. Oh, one of these streams, I'll show an example of that at some point. But right now, I'm not going to mess with it. Oh, and I got to go all the way back. Joy. I think the part that is actually the part that makes it even worse is that many times, not always, but many times, sometimes it's illegible, or at least it sounds like maybe a language that is different or whatever. But a lot of times, if I'm recording and I hear something at the same time, which I can find out because I pay attention at that exact time, if I'm recording, like with that thing that I showed you, I can actually pinpoint exactly what they said, and it usually confirms itself to where even within the audio you can find it. I mainly do that for my own record, and I'm gonna try to publish that to where you can hear it like just me speaking though, without the extra. Anyway, I figured I'd mention that for those that may have watched my uh, videos before, or ones that are not aware. Sometimes if you hear something's being said, you don't see my lips move. That's what it is. Then actually, while I'm already on the subject, doesn't really matter if I talk about it or not. There's multiples that I have recorded. I don't know who or what they're trying to accomplish. Sorry, my hat's like slightly off to the side, so it's driving me bonkers. uh, what the heck? There we go. I'm looking in the camera and I can see that it's off. But anyway, one thing about it is I don't know like anything other than the fact that I can distinguish that they're each one is different, and I can tell by how it is they talk. Yeah, full conversations too. That's the crazy part. Or at least for me, that's the crazy part. Okay, so I'm almost over there. And the thing about it is, there's at least one in particular that does not like me. I know for a fact. Don't know names or anything like that, but their presence has definitely been noticed by me. I know that was kind of random or whatever, but I don't mind talking about what, you know, goes on with me. Quite a few years ago, there was someone that said, "Oh, you're just," well, for that individual that said that, when you have hundreds upon hundreds of documented, you can prove it without a shadow of a doubt. I don't think you're right. Any other quest? In fact, if you pay attention to, I'll mention uh, quite a few of my videos actually reference that kind of thing too. Looks like I don't have any other quest available. I don't think. I don't think they have a thing where you can see which ones are available either. Okay, well, it looks like I'm just killing stuff then. Until I can find a quest, that is. Oh, for some people, as far as that, I'll mention too. Some people might look at me and be like, "Nah, it don't matter what you show or prove. It's just from such and such." Okay, then. When you experience it firsthand, it's kind of hard to deny it. But of course, with that, only certain people will ever face that. Like someone that happened to have like possession happen to them. You know something interesting about that? Did you know that there's such thing as antimatter, right? The absence of. Within that, you want to know something interesting? In order for that to happen, you have to have a certain amount at that time in order for it to even happen. Scientifically, they've proven that, and some people never produce that. Now, is there a contributing factor to deal with that paranormal stuff that I have spoken about? Is there? More than likely, there is. Have they done research on that? Probably not yet. If they have, I have never heard of it yet. Or it's one of those things that they've kept hush hush. But some people never will experience anything supernatural, while others will. For me, I've had objects move in front of me. I have, whenever I do videos, there's, even within this, if I were to be recording this with my audio, I could probably find somewhere where there was another voice besides mine. But other people, they'll never experience it. I know this kind of turned into that, but I guess just talk about something random. I mean, if you've experienced something like that, one thing I'll tell you is you're not alone. A lot of times it's within genetics and other things. Or sometimes you unintentionally or intentionally, not knowing, open that door. Once you open it, well, you can't close it. In fact, with that, at one point, I was trying to do voice acting. It got so bad that I had to find a way to get them to talk only where I wanted them to. In fact, they still, even within my videos that I post on YouTube daily, you'll hear somewhere. Almost guaranteed within a week, you'll at least see one or two, at least, every week. Every week. Sometimes more. A lot of times I don't even, if I think the video is good, that's cool. I don't even review the audio that I recorded yet. I've actually thought about making a separate YouTube to do that. I've thought about it, but that's just not something I want to do. But now that I've said it, well, if you ever see it, well, you know who it is. But anyway, set aside that. But of course, also, though, something fascinating about that particular type, the voice phenomenon that is electronic, many times only the person that the message happens to be for will understand it. But I have a video on YouTube that I have yet to post that I had this girl listen to. And there was a point where she threw my headphones, these, on the ground and said, "Oh, hell no." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "You know what?" She, not that specific word, but she was like that. It creeped her out, actually. I gave a specific challenge. I have yet to post it. I have it sitting there to where no one can see it. I even review the video, or review it on video, play each spot, showing the whole thing with a video that I have included as well, where I review the whole thing. And let's see. Well, what I was thinking of, I don't have on this right now, actually, but I have one where I set markers for it, where within, I believe it was 30 minutes or 10 minutes or something like that, I had so many strikes that the only thing you see is that particular instance where there's some kind of noise or sound that you can't explain. Even amongst voices, too. But that kind of paranormal activity could be compared to some people's even smaller as far as significance. Because there's been some that have experienced things that are far beyond what I have. But other than that, and there's plenty of reasons why that would happen too. And actually, I'm going to have to take an intermission because nature calls, but I'll be back in a minute once I'm able to set myself up where I can do that. I believe it's that one. Okay. Most, if I do that, will be quick edits. Almost every time I do that, I have to re-angle this. I gotta grab my phone too. I think it dropped on the ground. Where is it? Yeah, give me a second, but where'd it go? I heard it drop. Uh, where'd it go? Should be right. There it is. I found it. Took a second, but it is what it is. Anyway. No, it was kind of a random subject, but figured I'd explain to you why partly I say that making content is not always easy. Now, but I also, within what it is that I do on my motivational poetry stuff, I also speak about it's not the fact that that happens. It's more what you do about it and how you respond because it does matter. And it's not that you don't experience that too, because some of you never will, never could, where others, they experience it on a daily basis without asking for it sometimes. It's like, no matter your situation, it's not the situation that matters. It's your outlook on the situation and how it can be. That's like with what goes on with me, with this electronic voice phenomenon thing. That could either stop me from doing this, I could work around it, or I can just acknowledge for the fact that it's there. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't do to anything to what I wish to do with what it is that I wish to do. Trying to speak, greatness over people to where, you know what, you can accomplish anything. And you can. That's why I use poetry why I do it, actually. Because poetry is meant to touch the heart. And the way I do it, you're required to think. Use the most powerful muscle in your entire body to get control over the situation. I mean, I've even had some people message me, and I still have the messages too. Where there was one that said that there were two individuals that were with me. I couldn't see them. According to me, they weren't there. But yet, they even asked them a question that I was required to find out. I got the answer. That's all I will say as far as that. And I didn't even have to turn up the volume to get it. 2 different voices within what it is that I've already talked about. I even tried to narrow it down because it was on one of my streams or videos. The guy said it was both. In fact. I mean, I still have the chats from that individual that he specifically said that. I even have the audio of them giving the answer too. If I remember right. I may have gotten rid of that, but you can only store so much information, but then I'll also be honest at points when I'm doing that motivation poetry thing. I know for a fact it's not coming from me. There's no way it could. Or at least that's the way I feel about it, as far as that goes. Many times people are able to do such things. That's yet another paranormal kind of thing. That makes it unique and all of that, but funniest thing about it is I knew as soon as I would start doing something like this, I would get into some kind of random thing such as this, but it is what it is. You can like that or you can dislike it. I don't really care. I have the proofs that I need to see to know what's going on. If you need something else, well, that's not necessarily something that I'm going to be able to show you. For some, as far as that particular subject that I happen to be talking about, they have to experience it for them to even believe it. Even if the proof is right there in front of them, undeniable, they'll come up with some kind of explanation that even if it was something close to that explanation, there's no way. And here's something interesting I wish to also mention about this. Particularly, the room that I'm in doing it right now is sound dampened. No sound from anywhere else can get in this room. Not completely soundproof, but I spent about 50 to 60K altogether amongst all my instruments and the soundproofing, which is this is actually part of it. So if you're hearing it now that you've seen this background like it is again, or where you could see it, it's a soundproof room, or mostly soundproof room. So where's the sound coming from? I mean, as far as all that, even within what it is that I use for my power supplies and all that, I use a surge protector for my audio stuff that each individual socket has its own circuit where there is no interruption from anything. A power conditioner is what I use, actually. So, for those that say, oh, it's something other than, you might want to check your facts because that's what it actually says those do, is stop interference from other electronic devices or broadcasting of from electronic devices. In fact, all of my music equipment is all hooked up to something similar to that. Like if you've seen my picture of what it is that's my setup, that little box underneath it, that little thing on the top, that's a power conditioner is what it is. But the part that makes it more interesting is I don't really like to too much admit this, but during that point of time, as far as when it is that I choose to do that, because at times I have to, but because of what it is I do, it's part of the reason why they're drawn to it, making videos and other things like that. If a supernatural being wanted to be heard, and you're within what it is they're able to manipulate, but within when it is that I notice that the interference or artifacts are a little too much, I try to dampen it. I've tried everything else too, by the way. But at points I have to give that appointed time for that. And a lot of times if I ask something, I get the answer. Now, could that be explained by what it is that some people say it is? A radio frequency that's interfering? If that entity wanted to do that, they could. Within every word that's ever been produced by a radio, they could, oh, this is the answer that I want to make sure that they hear. Plop. That's true, yes. That's able to be done. But to have the exact answer that you are asking for? Here's the thing, you also, people that claim this particular thing, radio waves can only go so far. And it can only go through so much before it stops. Like metal and brick and other things such as this, it can only go so far before it has to stop. And I will also mention something else. They don't last that long. They're more like have you ever now, as for me, a lot of people that might claim it being radio frequency blah 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 stuff they're not educated about. Have you ever looked at what a sound wave looks like? Do you even know what one looks like? Me soundproofing my room, which would include that, because that's part of the reason of soundproofing it, or dampening it, to where no other noise, no matter electronic or other, could get through it. Now, where I'm going with that is this. If it is stray radio waves, like many have said it is, are you an audio technician? Because it says it's radio waves. And here's the thing. They're small, okay? They're not very big. In order for that to be true, that has to be broadcasted within the exact word at that exact time, within a certain amount of time, or it dissipates. You ever think of that? Stray radio waves, they only go so far. That's like the current place that does my radio station that I like to listen to. They have a range of about 70 miles or so. Actually, less than that. It's about 40 miles before the station completely cuts out. Now, the only ones that are able to do that for, they have more towers, right? But how many radio stations do you know that are in my area? So, amongst these radio stations, someone said what it is that's said. Now, you might try to say that it's that, but here's another issue with that, by the way. Most of the time on these radio things that you're talking about, there's music as well as words. So why do you not pick up the music then? Hmm? Interesting question, isn't it? The ones that use that radio thing. Oh, it's just stray radio waves. Okay, well, where's the music from it then? Because what radio waves, besides a few talk shows, have that? And those are so few that within your area, you can find out exactly what they were saying at that exact time and prove upon the fact it's not. So go ahead and say something you're not educated about to say or comprehend because you have not recorded audio or produced it or have taken classes or anything else to know what you're talking about. As far as that issue, even within sound recording engineers and other things that know about soundproofing and how that works, and isolating that particular signal to where there is no interference with any other signal. So you can try to say that radio wave thing all you want. Especially within my area, because there's very few talk shows within my area, AM or FM. They're all do music in my area. There's only very few that ever speak normally. So, what other excuse will you make now? I'd like to hear that excuse. I've been doing sound recording for 10 to 15 years plus. I know what a radio wave looks like. I also know, just by the look of it, what it is. I could tell the difference between a guitar, vocal, bass, drums, whatever it happens to be, just by looking at it, if I've recorded it before, of course. So I know quite a bit about audio and how that works. Even within radio waves. Which is very similar too. My local radio stations actually, their towers only have a range of a maximum of 50 miles. I mean, think about that for a few minutes. So within 50 miles, I know all radio stations that are within that area. And I can easily find out what they did. You know how I can find that out? Most of them do exactly what I'm doing right now. They stream what they did. You can look back. You can find out every single radio station within that area and find out at that exact time what was being broadcasted. And you can find out if it fits. Within that. Those, I say, just stray radio station stuff. Sure about that? Are you educated enough to know that? Or are you just trying to hush hush? I'm sorry, but I experience it on a daily basis. You can't tell me for what it is that I know for a fact. You might be able to tell ones that are uneducated about radio waves and how that works. That it can be that just to... But how long will that last? I mean, in truth, how long will it last? Against somebody that even more educated than I am. Stray radio waves, huh? If that's true, where's the music then? That's probably the biggest argument about it. So the words are the only thing that stays? Here's another issue with that. Do you know what a bass wavelength looks like? I do. You know something different about a bass wavelength? It's the hardest one to get rid of. Right? So even if the guitar or anything else didn't show up, guess what would still show up? Within the wavelength. And another thing about radio waves is they dissipate very quickly. Unless it's a bass frequency. Within 50 miles. Stray radio. Okay. So if I go to record something and I find out exactly what's been said within what it is that they would be able to broadcast and be able to be a stray radio wave and nothing like what it is that I heard was said, then what? Hmm? Would have to be said at that exact time. Whatever it may have been. Y'alls that gave the answer, you ever think of somebody that might have been able to figure that one out? And here's the thing, too, though. Within those stray radio waves that you claim, no matter where it is, how close are you to the tower? You can even, at that point, if you were to do the math, you could actually figure out how long it takes for that exact wave to get there. So not only could you find out the exact time that it hit it then, you could find out when it hit before, too. Because if you were to have two different people, one very close to the radio station or whatever, the tower that is producing that sound, and then have one that is at the farthest distance that it is able to produce, you could, if you had an exact precision timer, you could find out the exact time between then to then. As well, by the way. Then it even gets deeper when you start doing that. Because then you can tell when it dissipates. Because if it hits that first one, and then a few milliseconds or whatever it may be, hits that second one, you know by that time that hits that second one, the first one dissipated already. Because technically speaking, it wouldn't be instant. within radio wave. Even if it was a hundredths of a million millisecond or whatever, millionth of a millisecond or whatever calculation you would ever try to comprehend, there would be a slight delay for that one that's farther away. That alone proves upon the fact that they do anticipate. Interesting as well if you actually were to look into the fact of that as well. Now, what happens if at the time that happens, there is nothing that's recorded that matches up with that? Do you disprove that theory entirely and utterly, even if you were to do it within 200 or however many miles that you wish to do? You could disprove the whole thing where people say, it's just stray radio waves. Couldn't be, because within that you would prove upon the fact that they do disappear after they're produced. Granted, that's a random subject and all that, but I mean, that's something that I deal with, and I'm smart enough to think about this kind of stuff. Try to tell me it's a stray radio wave when I'm sure if somebody were to do the research on that, and be able to disprove that entirely just by doing what it is I just explained. By having a precise timer of when that is received compared to when it is that the other one. Because by proving that, it proves that it moves. So if it goes through that area and it's no longer there, you can't say that it was still there because it's over here. If that makes any sense. That's like trying to tell you that it is 5:30. No, it's 5:34. You're trying to tell me it's 5:30. It's 5:34, actually. Not 5:30. 5:34. If that doesn't make sense, I don't know what will. But what about other ones that have, I'll throw another one in there. Paranormal activity stuff, since we're on this subject. What about, like, video evidence, too? Even within that, I have some proof of that. What about people being able to take pictures and other things like that, or take videos of things that are not supposed to be there? What about that? That leftover radio wave too? Because I actually have some video evidence too. I have more than one video evidence, actually, one within what video that I had talked about, because I turned up the volume to 60 decibels. 60 decibels. That's 60 decibels below what you can hear with the naked ear. It's like wearing a hearing aid on steroids. I'll put it that way. And within that, you can actually hear another voice very clearly when my mouth is not moving. And I have video in my mouth too. And that was recorded exactly with what it is I was talking about with the power conditioner that gets rid of all electronic interference from any other device, even radio waves. It actually, the particular one that I bought and I used for that, actually specifically said that on the box. Within the manual, too. Within the video that I am talking about. It actually specifically talks about electronic interference from any other device and even radio wave. So within that video, there cannot be stray radio waves. Even if that was a thing, which somebody actually did the research and that whole theory goes out the window by somebody that says that is uneducated. Very much so. Because they don't deal with such things like that and they don't understand how a wave takes and dissipates and disappears. It's not something that lingers. It can't. It has to bounce off of something. But that only happens with higher frequency. Lower frequency doesn't do that. Mid-frequency don't do that. But then, if you have something like this, which was used why I made that, by the way, right in front of the mic. That way, all producing within that noise that could be is dampened. Just this alone gets rid of so much high frequency. But anyway, what about video? Because I also have video of a particular night that multiple things were happening and, well, within a 5-minute period, I had so many that I had to stop. And I still have access to these videos, too. From a security camera. So how do you explain that one? That's even, like, it's like paranormal and it's right there in front of you, but why try to disprove something you can't disprove? That's a good question. How can you disprove something just like that? By saying something that a general public person that, oh, that's what they say it is. But then when you look into the research to see if this person is actually accredited for what it is they say, a lot of times you find out one thing very quickly. They're not. And they don't know what they're talking about. And they never did. Oh, it's just this. Is it really? Let me guess, you don't experience paranormal activity because you're one of the many that don't? And probably never will. Can't tell somebody that something ain't something that actually happens when they have, without a shadow of a doubt, video, audio, and other proofs. You can't. Now, I know some things are faked and other things like that, but within that video that I'm talking about, I gave a challenge, and I still give it to you. You don't believe me? Bring any audio device you want to and stay around me for a while and see what happens. You can do it yourself. It don't matter. I can show you how to find it. In fact, even off your audio, I bet I can find it. You could document it even if you wanted to. Go ahead, take my challenge. That's why that girl took this headset and threw it on the ground and said, "Oh hell no." Go ahead, take my challenge. Within a decent amount of time, you will find something. Guarantee it. So go ahead, take my challenge if you don't believe me. I'll even let you do the recording yourself if you want. That's at least as far as audio goes, because that's the only thing that, at least that I know of, that I've been able to see, other than that one night. So you could easily prove upon the fact. I mean, so easy. It happens to me so much because of what I do. Look at what I'm doing right now. If there was a supernatural being that me and you can't see that wanted to be heard or seen, what would they do? I mean, you think about that for a few minutes. In fact, you want to know why? The reason that she threw that off her head. Because at that exact time where she did, because I was watching the video at the same time, I knew exactly what was said. The exact thing I just told you. You want to know what was said? Made her throw her headphones off? Accept the challenge. That's what was said. I have this video on YouTube right now. I've yet to post it because I'm choosing when I want to post it. But I actually go through an audio. Right in front of you, too. Watching all 3 camera views that I have, which covers the entire house to prove no one else is there. They actually show each individual room, in fact, where you can see an entire open view of each room in the house. And yet, while I'm speaking, you can hear my voice, but then once you hear other ones. Even there's some where you can tell that in particular being that was doing that was trying to speak over me. Where you could hear, if you watch the first, because I did it in 3 separate videos. did it where you hear exactly only what I said, then showing the audio at the points without hearing what it is they said, for you to do it yourself. And then the third one, I do it where, and there's markers very distinguished throughout it, that either there was a weird noise or there was very clearly somebody saying something. And I even have the audio files available too, to where you could do it yourself with that second one if you don't believe me. But anyway, enough about that. So, I got a question for you. Since we're on that subject, is there anything paranormal that might happen around you? Are you one that believes in it but you've never seen it? Are you one that's skeptical, and why? Do you, and if for some reason you have a reason or a source that can, how can I put this? Put it to where it's hard to prove it. Can you also, along with that source, prove with documentation their education that puts them to where they can actually say that? And also all works that they've ever done, along with any collaborations and other things such as that. Even I throw in there another thing. Are they ones that maybe have been paid off to make it to where they try to make that subject hush hush, or what? Can you prove they haven't been one that has been engaged with that as well? Because it's like, if you're going to try to tell me it's this, you better be able to show the credentials. Prove upon the fact you ain't one that has taken no hush hush. And got to see who else you worked with, because then we know where your education come from. Now, many times, now here's another thing you could even take and ask for if you wanted to actually do the research to find out if these people that are trying to make this hush hush, also find out their credentials as far as their paper trail, as far as their schooling transcripts and other things such as that too. Because that is public information. If it is that they're claiming something like that to try to disprove something, they have to be able to provide that, or they're not a liable source. Are they? As far as ones trying to disprove it, because they're not educated. You ever think of that kind of stuff, or do you just listen to what somebody tells you? I mean, even within me, I bet you would probably be somewhat skeptical. But seeing what I've seen and recorded what I have recorded, try to tell me I have not recorded that? Excuse me? Are you a sound engineer? Are you a mixing engineer? Do you even know what a sound wave looks like? I mean, even within the security camera footage that I had, it was recorded. I mean, you gonna try to tell me that that didn't happen? Oh no, it's just no, it's not. Anyway, kind of turned into more of a thing about paranormal kind of stuff, but it is what it is. I mean, for people that try to say that ain't so, well, you got a lot to prove to somebody that actually has been one to produce such things that you're trying to disprove. And even within what it is that I've described and said, I just possibly ruined your entire thing of trying to tell me that it's this or that. Just by the mere principle of how that concept works. And I'm not that educated on it, but I know it works that way. The farther away from the tower that would be producing this radio wave that you have claimed will be what I recorded. Number one, most of the time it's music that's being played, so where's the music at? Number two, the distance between you and the tower, find out when they streamed it because that's exactly live, and they allow you to be able to review it at your own leisure. Find out the time that it was produced by the last known area that it can be received, because it has to reach it before it can be received. And find out if there's a difference. Compare it to when it is you record it, because guess what? With an audio DAW, do you know what it does? It puts an exact timestamp in when that was recorded. Compare that with that. Totally disprove your entire radio wave claim. And here's another thing I want to mention too. If it's a stray radio wave, like they claim for that particular, here's another issue with that. If that was so, then you would have a small itsy bitsy problem. When you were trying to listen to the radio, guess what? There would be more than one song playing at the same time. Stray radio waves, isn't it? See where the issue's at? How can it be a stray radio wave? Because guess what? It was put out at that exact frequency. You realize how radio waves work? You ever used a tone generator before? Have you? You want to know what that would be produced if you picked up that stray radio wave? You want an example? I have one, actually. Because here's your problem with that idea, with the stray radio wave thing. If I can find it. Let's see, where did I put that? Because it had been set to that particular frequency. I know I have that thing. Where'd it go? Anyway, I do have one of these that I'm speaking of, but I'll just give a small example so you can understand. That frequency that you're claiming to be stray, there's another issue with that idea. That frequency that it's putting out to be where that radio is, do you know what that would be if it was a stray frequency? If it was set to, guess what that sound would be that you would pick up on that stray radio wave? Because it's sent out that way, you have to have a receiver that translates that back into. Do you see how that works? Stray radio waves. It's put into a wave that is received, translated, then the sound is produced. Another small issue with your theory of how that works. Because, you put it in the FM transmitter. What? 89.6? You see where I'm getting with that? Stray radio wave, huh? That signal of what they're saying is put to that, not the actual word being produced or sound being produced. Yet another flaw within that. But anyway, that looks like all the time I have for now. So, until next time.